If you could change your face to look like anybody in the world, would you get the girl? Would you rob the mob? Or would you just disappoint your dad?
Wonder with us. I'm Bethany.
I'm still Konr.
And this is Wonder with Us.
It's still a podcast.
Talking about the Twilight Zone.
Episode 13. The four of us are dying.
Yeah.
It's an ominous start.
It is. And it is unraveled for us by the wonderful narration of Rod Serling in the first 12 seconds.
Yeah, it is.
That pretty much sort of displaces any preconceptions you would have on the title by itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, the title would suggest that we're going to be dealing with four characters, and in some way, shape, or form, all four of them are going to die.
Yeah, but there's only one that we see.
We find out fairly quickly that there's only one lead character,
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact that that lead character is played by 5 different actors.
4. I think it's 4. I will double check that. I think it's 4.
I want to say we're at 5 because we got our main guy.
Yep.
Our main squeeze, our girl Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We got the first one, the trumpet player.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the mobster.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have
The boxer. That's 4. That's it.
Main character. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is only 4. You are right. I am wrong.
I took notes.
So did I, just not about how many people. Doesn't matter. The point is we got 4 actors playing the same character.
Yeah.
At separate times. It is an incredible nightmare, I imagine, on the set.
Sure. But the transitions are great.
The transitions are well done, and the practical effects for the time.
Minimal and fantastic.
Minimal and very well done.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get started. What do we got?
This episode was directed by John Bram.
That's a new name.
No, he actually did a couple of the previous. He popped up, I think it was around episode 3 or 4. Don't quote me.
I don't pay attention.
Yeah. So John Bram directed it. It's based on a short story by George Clayton Johnson. And then the teleplay was written by the Brain Daddy, Rod Serling.
Daddy.
Music is by Jerry Goldsmith, who was mentioned a couple of times in the previous episodes.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So they credited him this time. And cinematography is, as always, by our favorite George T. Clemens.
He's not the Brain Daddy, but he needs his own nickname.
Yeah.
Because at this point, like, he is every bit as responsible for this series up to this point.
At least visually.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll put some thought into it.
Yeah.
But he needs a nickname.
Next episode.
No promises.
All right. So, the main character is Arch Hammer.
Arch Hammer.
Yeah.
Good name.
He was played by Terry Hounds. No, sorry. Harry Towns.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
Hey, if anybody wants to make donations just to keep us on our professional game.
We need the incentive, clearly. So anyway, Harry Towns was...
I recognize that name, I just don't know why.
Well, I can tell you a little bit. He was born in 1914 in Huntsville, Alabama.
That's not why I recognize him.
He moved to New York City in 1930.
No.
He started on the stage and then moved to TV. He is best known for, ready for this?
Probably not.
Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and Star Trek The Original Series.
Oh, for the love of God, they were just headhunting Bonanza.
Yeah.
They were just headhunting...
Bonanza and Gunsmoke. Yeah.
So, okay, do we have any information on when Bonanza or Gunsmoke aired?
I did not look into that, but I'm assuming, based on the amount of characters in this episode and previous episodes that also had some sort of role in either Bonanza or Gunsmoke, that they were around the same time.
Please excuse my mouse and keyboard. I need to know.
That's all right. So I'll keep talking then. So he did those roles, was known for those, and it doesn't have any other information on various other parts that he played. But in the 1970s, he decided he was done with Hollywood and that life, and so he quit Hollywood and returned to his hometown of Huntsville, Alabama, to become a full-time Episcopal priest. And he remained in the priesthood until his death in 2001.
For the love of God, how old was he?
I believe he was like 92 when he died. Yeah.
It's the damnedest thing, man. People have been looking for Jesus since the dawn of time, and that man found him in L.A.
Maybe.
Okay.
Did you find that yet?
Yeah. Well, for starters, there were 20 damn seasons of Gunsmoke, apparently.
The starting date's up at the top.
I didn't see a starting date.
Right next to the title.
55 through 75.
Yeah. And
so if we ignore the fact that this show ran for 20 years,
Mhm.
we get Twilight Zone in 59.
Yep.
And Gunsmoke ran through 59. So without actually looking up the individual characters and when they were on the show, it is entirely possible that Gunsmoke, the Twilight Zone, and Bonanza were all just intermingling, running the same 8 characters or actors who were working in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah, it could be. There's definitely a lot of crossover of actors.
Well, and on some of the information we found, there almost has to have been, just based on the number of people who were blacklisted for their political affiliation. Like, I don't know how things work in Hollywood or how they worked back then, but dear God, what a minefield.
Right. So he is our leading role in this episode.
He is, and we open up with a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous staged shot of a city skyline from a rooftop.
Is it Manhattan?
It's assumed to be Manhattan, as we open up on a sign that reads the Manhattan Storage Warehouse Company.
Sure.
So it's a pretty good chance it's supposed to be Manhattan. There is a very interesting thing in this episode, and by interesting I mean infuriating, in that just after we have our introduction via a rooftop, we see signs.
Neon signs.
And there are so many of them, and the depth perception is so god-awful.
Yeah.
that you cannot tell if our main character has just walked out of a hotel, or possibly, the Rico Club, Rooms, the Lonely Club, Cold Beer, Club Bonanza, and Benny's are all signs that are so close together, so tightly packed into this frame, that you can't tell where any of them are, or what any of them are supposed to be.
A few of them are stacked on top of each other, like
quite literally,
and
yes,
sideways. So, like,
and the lack of
angles.
dimension, they could be 15, 20 feet apart, and I wouldn't know, because there's no dimension in this shot. It's just a flood of neon lights, making it impossible to tell where anything is.
Is it something you would say that may rival the Strip in Las Vegas?
No, the Strip in Vegas is very cohesive.
Organized,
it's cluttered,
comparatively speaking.
It's cluttered, but it's quite plain when you look up and you see a sign that's above your head. That's the building I'm in front of. You look down the street and you can see the signs as they get smaller. That's not the case in this shot.
Yeah.
Most of these signs are the exact same size.
Yeah.
It looks like they are hung up on a board, or from, maybe they were all strung up from the same rafter in the studio. I don't know what, unless the goal was to create a feeling of chaos, which if that was the goal, they nailed it.
Yeah.
Because it is chaotic to the point of hard to look at.
Well, or just even simulating a downtown area where a lot of businesses would be in the overwhelming...
And it is entirely possible that what they were trying to do was create a feeling of New York.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't ever seen downtown Manhattan in 2013, I could understand maybe seeing that and just being overwhelmed by the cityscape that is this 8-foot by 8-foot movie set.
Yeah.
Point being, that shot irritated me, and they reuse that, they recycle that shot like 8 times in this episode.
Quite a few. Yeah.
It is mind-boggling.
Keeps panning back to it.
It's just, and And as far as I can tell, it's the same shot. They just reverse the motion on a couple of them. So sometimes the camera's panning left, sometimes it's panning right, but it's all quite clearly the same damn shot.
Right.
And like, guys, just back the camera up and zoom in, zoom out,
and it
pan, do something else.
There's a bit of a fuzzy focus, though. So, like, when it pans past and you see all the different signs, it stops on the Hotel Royale.
Yeah, they clearly didn't actually stop the camera there. They stopped the film.
Yeah.
They stopped the image there, but they didn't actually stop moving the camera because it is so out of focus.
That's why it's out of focus?
Yeah, there is so much motion blur on that sign every time they stop at it.
So he goes into the Hotel Royale. Right?
He does. We get a very interesting description from Rod Serling, good old brain daddy, about the fact that we are dealing with a man named Arch Hammer, who's 36 years old, has lived his life as a salesman, a dispatcher, a truck driver, a con man, a bookie, and a part-time bartender.
The most important of these roles being con man, I think.
I think that's arguably accurate, yes.
For the purposes of this episode.
Indeed. And it's... So we get a couple of good things right off the bat, starting with Rod's narration coming in. It's very well done, very succinct, gives us an immediate picture of who we're dealing with.
Yeah, as always.
And it's very well done. Give me 1 second here. My computer seems to have gone to sleepy time, and that ain't no good while we're recording. Hey, we're still recording. Okay. So we get a very, very interesting, succinct image of the main character here, Arch Hammer, just from the narration that Rod gives us. From the very beginning, we know exactly who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a shady, skeezy man who is doing everything he can to avoid an honest day's work.
And can I just say that with a name like Arch Hammer, it really lends itself to this jack-of-all-trades type of character.
It does. It's a name that feels like it fits very well. Sorry, that was our temporary third host, Callie, snoring on the floor. So the first shot we get of Arch outside of just traveling is also the first shot we get of practical effects in this episode.
Yeah,
and it's very well done. I assume it was done with a hole in the wall, if I had to guess.
The only thing that would make sense.
It's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise they've got people running back and forth between mirrors while the camera's panning around, and while that would be amazing,
it's not
practical. I prefer to think that they just cut a fucking hole in the wall and made 2 bathrooms. As we get our main character shaving, and in true Twilight Zone fashion, he got a cigarette hanging out of his lip, which is getting in his way while he's shaving, but he doesn't seem to mind.
I've often wondered about that, because there are multiple times where people in the episodes are smoking and doing other things. It's like the practicality of that. You think it would hinder whatever else they're doing. Like he has to work around the cigarette to actually shave his face.
I would agree to an extent. I can only speak for myself, but I know that given the opportunity to both smoke while I shave in a hotel room, like as an almost 30-year-old who's never been allowed to smoke in a public building in his life, I'd jump on that opportunity.
Yeah.
I remember going to Texas and being told, no, you can smoke in this bar, and chain smoking most of a pack of cigarettes just because I could. So, not ideal, but don't condone smoking. It's bad for you and stuff. We see our main character shaving in a mirror, seemingly. We get a very nice camera pan down to, I guess the first one we see is actually the camera's on him, and when it pans back to the mirror, there's a different face.
Yeah.
It's a different person.
Rod has an interesting bit of pause narration when he's in the mirror, because he's talking about his ability. Am I jumping ahead? His ability to change his face?
No.
In how he is just a twitch of a muscle. If he thinks about it, he can do it. And so while he's talking us through how this guy has this ability and how he uses it, we look up again, and it's a different face in the mirror.
It was very well done. And they clearly wanted to give us this image, this idea of what this character could do early on.
Yeah.
Because we get the first one, the camera pans from our main character to the mirror, where there is now a different face, a different person, who is still, all things considered, mirroring our main character very well, as we can still see the arm of our main character moving, just almost off frame, and the movements match the individual in the quote-unquote mirror. We then get a shot down at the ashtray as he is flicking the ashes off his cigarette, and when he comes back, there is yet a third person standing in the mirror. Like, they very clearly are just like, this is what this man can do, this is how quickly he can do it, this is how adept he is at it, which just lends itself to the whole idea that this guy is a con artist from the start.
Quick question.
Yeah, quick answer.
The newspaper clippings of the faces?
Irritated the living crap out of me.
Was that at the beginning, though, before the shaving scene?
It was before the shaving scene, yeah.
So that would then give us kind of an indicator of these are the faces you're going to see in the mirror without us actually knowing it.
But we didn't see those faces in the mirror.
It wasn't those?
Oh. No, so he changed into... so we saw a total of 3 people in the bathroom. The newspaper clippings that were on the bed, and the reason it irritated me, was that it was several copies of the same 2 articles. Oh. Like, it was laid out in such a way that when I first looked at it, it just looked like a slew of different things. But in reality, there were only 2 articles on the bed, one of which was musician killed, and an article about a local musician who had died when his car was hit by a train, and an article about a gangster that was killed and found in a lake.
The face changes in the mirror in the bathroom were so subtle that I didn't even notice that it wasn't the people we see later on in the episode. So
yeah, it was really very well done. If you're not paying attention, and I don't think I caught it the first couple of times that I watched it, but yeah, if you're not paying attention or you're not just thinking about it already, it is so well done, and the movements are so well mirrored that it's subtle. And it's very well done.
I didn't catch it, so that's interesting. So he's shaving. We find out what he can do, and then
as he's leaving his room, he picks up one of each of the newspaper clippings, eyeballs them, decides on one, folds it up, sticks it in his pocket, and leaves. Not much there. We get the idea that this musician who was killed by a train is probably going to be prevalent or relevant here in a minute. He gets outside, and we get our second shot of the signs. Just
for too long.
So many signs for so long. Yeah, so he leaves. We get the signs. He does a very strange thing as he's leaving, because he walks by 2 posters. I don't remember what the first one was, but the second poster he stops at is like a showgirls kind of something or other. It's
Enchanting ladies dancing.
Yeah, it is some advertisement that made me think of a strip club at a time when I don't reckon that was a thing. But
it was a low-key thing.
There was this very interesting moment that bothered me more than I think it should have, when he is looking at the woman on the poster, and he squats as if he's adjusting his junk. Just very quickly, like squats in a way that I have seen people squat when they are adjusting their junk, before smiling and moving on.
Again, I didn't notice that.
I don't know why it irritated me, because I feel like it shouldn't have. It doesn't matter, but it was just another thing that made me want to reach through the screen and slap this dude.
Okay, that's fair.
Plays the character well. All 19 of them played this character very well.
4.
He then walks by a couple sitting on a park bench making out in broad daylight.
Making out in slow motion.
Yeah, it was fairly unsettling either way.
Yeah. I caught that.
Of course you caught that. We get to the bar. It's uneventful. I'm not going to describe everything about the bar. There's a woman in black. She's singing a terrible blues song, and she catches the eye of our main character.
That woman in black, who we later find out is Maggie, was played by Beverly Garland, a well-known TV actress born in 1926 in Santa Cruz, California. She studied dramatic arts under the famous Anita Arliss, and then from there moved on to mostly small theater. She worked in radio for a time, but then she debuted on the TV show DOA in 1949. Fun fact about her first husband, built 2 hotels that bear her name now. She actually operated the North Hollywood Hills location until her death in 2008.
I wrote you a song.
Yeah.
Ooh, don't I feel insignificant?
It's okay. I don't need hotels. Songs
Good,
are
because
better.
I ain't gonna build you one.
They last longer anyway. It's California, earthquakes. Come on. Songs will last longer than buildings.
Hotels are gonna pay more than songs.
Anywho, she maintained a continuing role on Seventh Heaven, which aired in 1996. It's one of the things she's best known for. In 1983, after 50 years in the showbiz, she received her first and only star on the Walk of Fame, and shortly following that, her induction to the Hall of Fame. Most notably, though, about her, she was the first female cast in a TV dramatic series as a police officer. And this was in the film Decoy in 1957.
Hey, look at her.
Yeah.
Kicking down doors.
So, first female to star in a dramatic series, and also first female to star as a police officer, because they were primarily portrayed by men.
Hot damn.
I know, right?
Might as well have forced her way to the front of the bus, that one.
So that was Maggie, who was singing very poorly when we first see her in this episode.
Yeah, I get the impression she's got a good voice. She was probably given less than ideal material to work with. As she describes her music later in the scene, it is songs for piano and bourbon.
Accurate.
Subsequently, my favorite genre ever.
I quite liked her performance.
It was well done for the most part. Little overacted in a couple of places, but that seems to be a theme for the time.
Yeah.
I think I got to get to the point where I can't blame the actors for that. That appears to have been
It is the genre.
industry standard at the time.
Yep.
So we get a nice moment with Maggie as she's leaving the piano, and a drunk decides to grab her around the waist, and she, in the most classy way possible, essentially tells him to go fuck himself. It was very well done. Before she heads to her own table and is greeted by one
Johnny Foster.
Johnny Foster, thank you. I could not remember his name.
He is the musician.
Yes, he is, and we in a moment see the face of the musician who was killed by the train approach Maggie at her table. They have a god-awful interaction. Just rough to sit through.
Over the top and awkward.
Indeed. What can you tell me about Johnny?
So, the actor who played Johnny Foster is Ross Martin, and we only see him in this one scene, and it's sad because based on his qualifications alone as an actor, he probably should have gotten a little more airtime.
And based on his acting in this scene,
yeah,
he's easily my favorite actor, specifically in this episode. How he did his thing was phenomenal.
I agree. So it was Ross Martin who portrayed Mr. Johnny Foster. He was born in Poland in 1920. He was raised in New York City, Lower East Side. This man spoke 7 languages, received honors degrees in business and law studies, but he chose an acting career. And it worked out for him, apparently.
So, hey, you gotta go where the money's at.
His debut film was The Conquest of Space in 1955, and then he worked for CBS for many, many years until they snubbed him in his later years for a heart condition that he developed over time. I think he had a heart attack in, early in the 80s. No, sorry, early in the 60s. He had a heart attack and then developed a heart condition. But he ended up...
Nobody likes a liability.
Right. That's what they said, too. So he quit working with them and then just kind of went on to get as many roles as whoever would take him. He never stopped acting. He died in 1981 of a heart attack while playing tennis.
Went out just the way he wanted to.
I would assume so.
I don't know anything about this guy. I'm sure that's how he wanted to go. Nothing says comfort like on a sun-beaten tennis court.
But it's interesting to me how well-educated he was and well-versed in so many things and then chose an acting career.
I am becoming more and more surprised by the number of actors that I find out have, frankly, concerning levels of education.
Yeah.
It is... I don't know if it's something to do with the work that it just allows you the time to further your education, or if this is all things that people were doing before they started acting. Whatever the case may be, I feel so insignificant and insufficient compared to Matt Damon.
Right.
Seriously? For the love of God. Okay. Any who's it? We've always got Charlie Sheen to keep us on the feeling better about ourselves.
Keeping on the even kill there.
Indeed. So they have a very interesting conversation where Maggie expresses how happy she is, how sad she's been because Johnny's been dead. He was hit by a train. I'm only writing blues, songs for piano and bourbon. She's clearly upset. And our, oh dear, what's his name? Good old Arch. Good old Arch Hammer is eating it up. He is loving it. Mm-hmm. And it is blatant that he is loving it. Makes me want to hit him. They decide, at the suggestion of Arch, who is playing Johnny Foster. Arch, who is playing Johnny Foster, decides to suggest to Maggie that they should hop a train tonight and head to Chicago, because he's going to leave this place behind, and so should she. I don't know where that accent's from. It's fine. She agrees to go, and it's the happiest we've seen Maggie look. She is absolutely delighted.
Over the moon and swooning.
Swooning to the max. Little does she know that Johnny's never going to show up at that train. So we get... Johnny takes off. As he's leaving, trumpet player for the band recognizes him, chases him outside while he ignores him. We get a very nice shot of Arch standing in the shadows. He accepts a light from the trumpet player, which... illuminates his face, showing that he is
no longer Johnny Foster.
He is not Johnny Foster. No. He's Arch Hammer, and that's just it. The Days of Our Lives moment from the trumpet player was intense. It was his amazement at it not being the dead guy he thought he just saw walk out of the bar.
Yeah,
was incredible. I applaud him. I don't know who he is, and I don't care, but I applaud him. I assume you didn't have any information on the trumpet player. I don't have any information
on the trumpet player, no.
Probably wasn't even credited.
No, he was credited. I just didn't. That wasn't one I got down. I wanted to get the key 4 down. But yes, the reaction was good. And then where does he go?
Well, before he leaves, Johnny makes a very interesting statement, kind of seeming to defend his decision to himself.
So if it were on a stage, this would be an aside, right? To the audience.
Sure.
No response. All right. Perfect. But defending his decision.
It seems to be defending his decision to convince this woman that he is her dead love interest and convince her to hop a train to Chicago with him so that they might live happily ever after by saying, and I quote, "Why not?" He goes on to explain that she's a beautiful dame. I believe he refers to her... where was it? What was it that he referred to her as? Oh, yes. I've never had a dish like that.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I?
A dish. Never had a dish like that. Doesn't he also say something like he's never been
loved like that?
The way that she loves Johnny.
Now, if you're listening, with your headphones on, or out of your car stereo, or out of your 1992 boombox with a plug-in for your phone so that you can put it in the tape deck, in your flannel shirt and your skinny jeans. Do me one tiny little favor. Just do a tiny little favor for Uncle Connor. Don't ever remove dame and dish from your vocabulary for any human being. Male, female, non-binary. Don't care. Remove dame and dish, because it's 2020, and I don't want to have to hate you.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I don't hate you, whoever you are listening. I'm just disappointed.
It was just a bad word choice. A bad descriptor.
The 50s were a fucking disgusting time.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot.
As it is unraveling, and we are beginning to see that more and more just based on how people and how their interactions are portrayed in various roles. Yeah. Dish is so bad.
Just why dish? Why dish?
Dame would be fine.
Dame is not fine. You are setting your gender back 20 years.
No. I'm saying of the two, Dame is preferable.
Yes, between herpes and syphilis, I'll take herpes. That doesn't make herpes okay.
Bonus episode content continue. So yes, I agree.
At this point, I'm looking forward to Arch dying. Now, as he moves on, we see some more signs. And by some more signs, I mean recycled footage of the exact same signs yet again.
The same signs, yes.
Now, what I didn't... Oh, yes, I did. Here it is. So next we see Mr. Arch. He is back in his hotel room. He is looking in his mirror again, and he is turning himself into a dead gangster. Mm-hmm. It's impressive. He's very good at this little trick.
This muscle twitchy face change
thing. He lets himself to apparently a former colleague of the gangster he is portraying at the moment's apartment. Mm-hmm. He barges in the door when the doorman tells him he can't come in. He then threatens a former colleague of the gangster whose face he's wearing, steals that man's money, and divulges a whole lot of information about the crime that got the gangster whose face he's wearing killed.
Yeah.
A lot more information than I think he probably got in the newspaper. Now, this made for a very well done scene, a very enjoyable dialogue, and a very irritating bit of continuity, because I cannot for the life of me figure out how he knew anything that he apparently knew.
Yeah.
With that said, the scene is worth watching because it is a very well done scene.
And I mean, we can come back to that in the next character whose face he takes.
Yes, we can.
Knowledge versus lack of knowledge.
Yeah. So in this scene, we meet the former associate of the dead man whose face Arch is wearing, and that is, where is his name?
Pennell.
What's that?
The character's name is Pennell.
Pennell, thank you. The Pennell.
The dead gangster is
Oh God, that's two characters. Yeah, lay it on me.
The dead gangster is Verge Stierig, and he is. We didn't know his last name.
God, what a mouthful.
Because he's only referred to by Pennell as Verge through most of their interaction.
So his name may have been in the newspaper. I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I didn't look. But Verge Stierig is played by Philip Pine, who, not a lot of information on this guy, just that he was a lifelong actor and writer, just like more than a few of the people who were casted in this episode.
And several episodes prior.
And probably more to come, if I had to guess, the way it's going.
Pretty safe bet.
So lifelong actor and writer. He was born in 1920 in California, died in 2006 in Las Vegas. Best known for The Cat Ate the Parakeet.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I believe
Cat Ate the Parakeet, one of my favorites.
It was either a stage production or a TV show. There was no definitive answer to this title, but that was done in 1972. He was also on Star Trek, the original series, as well as The Twilight Zone. And those are the only three things that he was credited for.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, we got any information on Pennell?
We do. Pennell was played by Bernard Fine, also another lifelong actor-writer. Born in 1926 in New Jersey, was best known for his roles in Hogan's Heroes in 1965 and The Phil Silvers Show in 1955. The only thing we know is that he died in 1980 in Los Angeles. So he was born in L.A., worked in L.A., died in L.A.
Now, just the way he wanted to, with nobody knowing how it happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get back to this. We know that Arch robs Pennell after divulging a whole lot of information, and then upon telling Pennell that he is a ghost, barges through the door, knocking two of Pennell's seemingly bodyguards out of the way, and books it.
An escape scene.
And escapes. And next we see he's running down an alley, and he ain't got nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that. But we got some bills to pay. Just believe in me. We're back. So, last we left off, our main character, good old Arch Hammer, had just robbed a thug of some sort, was being chased by his two goons, and found himself in an alley with nowhere to go.
A literal back up against the wall moment.
Literal. As he runs down, he does a couple of things. He tries a door, he runs face first into another door, he flops and kind of loses his fedora. It's a very sad moment for the fedora community. Nailed it.
Thanks.
He then goes into a panic trying to think of a face that he can change his face into. before turning around and seeing a poster of what appears to be a boxer on the wall behind him. This is clearly an old poster. It's been torn halfway down. There are other posters hung up over to it. It's not, because it's in black and white.
It would appear to be yellowed, as far as you could tell through black and white film.
That sentence hurts my brain.
That's all right.
But he decides that face is as good a face as any, and focuses for a moment before turning his face into that of the man on the poster, who frankly does not look like somebody I want to run into in an alley.
Yeah, very intimidating. And that face turns into Andy Marshak.
We don't find that out yet, but yeah.
The boxer, who is played by Don Gordon, another lifelong actor-writer. Born in 1926, Los Angeles, best known for his role in the film Bullet in 1968, and The Towering Inferno in 1974. He died in Los Angeles in 2017.
Damn, son.
Mm-hmm. So he was, I didn't get the age down, but 26 to 2017, he was very old. You can do that math real quick?
He's 91.
91. Yeah. I believe...
Didn't look a day over 35 when I saw him.
the oldest. Yeah. He was the oldest of this cast when he passed away.
None of this cast still alive, huh?
Mm-mm. No. All of them have perished.
There is a chunk of history for you folks.
Yeah. So that's Don Gordon, who played Andy Marshak.
Indeed. So the thugs catch up with good old Andy, who is obviously still Arch, wearing Andy's face like a dress. His face like a dress?
That was a bad brain fill. I didn't like that.
I am so proud of me. They catch up, realize this isn't the man they were chasing. This is somebody else down an alley with nowhere to go, wearing the same suit.
And good old Arch just plays it off.
Plays it off. What you guys coming after me for?
Except not quite like that.
It might as well have been like that. The
gist of it.
Point is, the goons leave because they realize it's the wrong person. And we have the largest chunk of coincidence we have had so far, as Arch comes around the corner wearing Andy's face to find himself, I don't want to say accosted, because it was not initially violent, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to say finds himself accosted by an old man running a newspaper stand. You got any information on the old man?
Yeah. Mr. Marshak, as he was casted, is played by Peter Brokaw. He was primarily a small screen actor born in 1903 in Pennsylvania. He was typecasted for small specific roles due specifically to his sharp skeletal appearance.
He is built like Jack Skellington.
Yeah. And very sharp features. It's not very easy to look at, if I'm being honest.
He was a damn sight easier to look at than Andy was.
That's fair. So he primarily had leading roles in stock theater, and with that group, toured all over Europe. Switzerland, Germany, Russia, over.
Are those all in Europe?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All over all the places.
Okay.
So that's...
I'm not questioning your facts. It was a question. Excuse me for trying to learn. That's why people who aren't in Hollywood can't further their education. Thank you.
So he cut his acting teeth, so to speak, with this touring troupe through Europe. Started in film in 1932 and was briefly blacklisted as a liberal during the McCarthy era. That's a fun fact about Peter Brokaw. And he died in L.A. in 1992. So from 1903 to 1992.
Huh. What's that make him, like 12?
I should start writing these ages down. Every time I say I'm going to do it and I don't do it. And then I remember I'm really bad at math.
Point is, folks, he's old as shit.
He's dead now.
Is you? Maybe he's on an island with Elvis.
But yeah, that's Danny Brokaw.
Them and JFK.
Danny Brokaw? Peter Brokaw.
Peter, Danny, Andy, Dufresne, Two-Frame, who the fuck ever.
All of the names of all of these characters. are just getting to me.
They're all bonkers.
It's what happens when you have one actor with 4 different faces throughout the film. Series. TV show. It's fine.
It was a character. It's a character played by 4 different actors in a single episode of a show. All right. It's not late. So we move on. Andy finds out that and this is the interesting part, because as he knew a whole lot of information about Mr. Thuggo, whose name I already forgot, he knew nothing, clearly, about Andy.
Yeah.
Up to and including the fact that he was talking to Andy's father, who initially seems fairly happy to see Andy and fairly concerned that Andy can't remember who he is.
They just kind of played it off, too.
I mean, he certainly played it like somebody who was trying to bullshit his way through an uncomfortable situation.
Or to get information. Have I known you long? I'd say so, many years.
I don't know what he possibly could have done with that information, but we do find out here very briefly, or very shortly rather, that the individual he's talking to is Andy's father. And Andy's father, it's not Dufresne, what the hell's his last name?
See, it's contagious. Mr. Marshak.
Mr. Marshak. We find out very quickly that Mr. Marshak got no love for Andy. He goes from, I'm happy to see you, I'm concerned that your brain apparently has been tampered with.
Did he say something like, have you been hit in the head? Because he knew
asked
his
if you
profession.
were punchy.
Okay.
Asked if he was punchy. Which apparently means something, because
Slang
Arch
for
was able to answer.
Drunk? Punchy?
I'm 29. I have no idea what the hell punchy means.
Hey, if you know, tweet it at us. Let us know.
What's that Twitter handle?
At WWUcast. Yeah, so tweet at us if you know that answer, because I'm curious now.
So, Mr. Dufresne, I don't know what his name is.
Marshak.
Mr. Marshak goes from, I'm happy to see you, to I'm concerned about your well-being because you appear to have been bonked in the noggin. And then, after revealing that he is his father, goes into a tirade at seemingly Andy regarding what a piece of shit Andy is.
Mm-hmm. And we get a whole lot of detail on this character.
Did dirty to some girl for something.
Mm-hmm.
It just real rough stuff, to the point that he ends up getting physically, I was about to say affectionate, that's not the word. He gets like physically violent towards Arch, who again is wearing Andy's face, until Arch ends up pushing the old man to the ground. The old man continues yelling to the world, look at this, it's my son. Look at my son, Andy Marshak.
Marshak.
I'm just going to call him Dufresne, because Dufresne's the best Andy in the world.
Marshak, okay.
And Arch takes off.
Which is it's a normal human response. He's freaked out. This guy's freaking out. He doesn't know how to handle this old man freaking out on him, so he pushes him away. So he
professional wrestling body slams him through the front of his newspaper stand.
And runs.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any better at that moment. We get Arch back in his hotel room. He's still Andy until he hears somebody opening the door on his hotel room, at which point he runs and hides behind the door. The door opens. Somebody we have not seen yet walks into the room, notices Arch standing behind the door, because it's Arch again.
Hammer, yes.
And informs him that he's somebody from somewhere, and that Arch is getting arrested.
Do you often stand behind the door? When someone I don't know comes into my room, yes.
And that's perfectly reasonable, I guess.
This unknown person in a suit and fedora.
They're all in suits and fedoras because they're all the same person wearing the same damn suit and fedora.
Was only credited as detective. His role is detective. And
he nailed it.
Detective, who was very short-lived, to the point that I missed him completely when we were watching the episode and going through the notes. I was like, oh, dude, okay. And then I had to go back and wait, who was that guy? What is his significance? So, detective.
That's why you gotta watch the episodes before you take notes.
I know, but I like to multitask.
It ruins the experience if you're nose deep in a laptop.
I will do that with the next one, it's fine. The detective was played by Milton Frum. He was born in 1909 in Pennsylvania, another Pennsylvanian. There are quite a few in this episode. He, much like the previous actor, was typecast as a comic foil in most of his roles.
Was typecast as a what?
Comic foil? Like comic relief.
What the fuck is a comic foil?
Role of this character's purpose is to be comic foil. Anyway, most of his acting career took place in 1960s. He was best known for Batman in 1966, The Nutty Professor in 1963, and The Swinger, also in 1966. And he died in Los Angeles in 1992.
Hot damn. They're all dead. Makes me sad.
Yeah. It's very rare, I'm finding, based on 13 episodes, to find any of these actors that are still alive and or working.
So we found a couple that are still alive, a few that are still working, but they're still there. So Arch goes willingly. He doesn't fight the detective. He asks if he can get his coat. We're teased with thinking that Arch is going to change his face again, and he doesn't. He goes along willingly, and as they're leaving the hotel, Arch has a moment of inspiration. A moment of, this is my chance.
A literal light bulb?
No, there wasn't a literal light bulb. What?
A light bulb moment of inspiration. Anyway, it's fine.
But where's literal
I was trying to add flavor. Don't worry about it. So he has a moment of inspiration.
Like lemon pepper? I like lemon pepper.
His moment of inspiration.
As they're walking through this spinny glass door, and I need you to really hang on to this next bit. It's a turnstile door with glass panes that are see-through.
Yeah.
As they're going through the door, Arch pushes away from the detective and runs back into the hotel where he can be seen through the glass door by the detective, who doesn't notice that he doesn't run off, follows him back through the doors outside, where he finds not Arch, but Andy standing outside, and apologizes and asks him if he saw where Arch went.
Clever.
He watched him.
Yeah.
I get that we're all going to deny it a little bit if we're walking next to somebody and we look over and it's a different person than we thought we were walking next to. It's a very awkward moment.
Sure.
He watched him.
So are you saying he's a bad detective?
Yes. Yes, I am. He didn't even need to detect. He just had to watch.
Continue watching and observing.
And he did. And he still fell for it. I heard that.
Hiccups.
I heard that too. The detective goes back into the hotel to find Arch after watching Arch
turn into Andy.
Andy at this moment thinks that he got away with it. He goes to light his victory cigarette, and as he turns, who should he meet? That's right. It's Mr. Dufresne.
Mr. Marshak. Come on.
Right. No, he's told you he's Dufresne now. I love Andy Dufresne. We should have you seen Shawshank Redemption yet?
Yeah. I have, but it's been a long time.
We should do it. We should do a
bonus
episode.
We're racking up those bonus episode ideas.
Perfect. It's for when the Max Fund finally calls and tells us that we need to have some in the bank.
Up our game.
Yeah. When they seek us out,
we will be prepared.
Indeed.
He runs into his dad.
His dad's pissed. His dad's holding a gun, which isn't weird.
Well, he didn't break a hip. So
he didn't break a hip being body slammed through a news booth. At which point he informs his young son, Andy Dufresne, that he's got a debt that he needs to pay. Arch attempts to persuade Andy's father that he is in fact not Andy.
While wearing Andy's face.
While wearing the face. Let's not drag this out any further than it needs to be. Andy's dad shoots him.
Yep. In the gut.
On the sidewalk. We are treated to a very nice shot of flashing between all of the different people that Arch has been in this episode. While Rod gives us a very well done outro narrative for the episode. And it ends in such a way that it's just kind of,
It just ends.
It's just over. It was very confusing. It almost felt to me like they forced the story to get it done with to fit within the time constraints of whatever they were working with.
Lots of chopping from the original, if I had to guess.
Whatever the case may be, it just kind of ended.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointing. Good news is we are here to mock it.
Yeah, and there will be
It's not why we're
more.
here.
This is ongoing. Episode 14 is next.
It is. Do we got a title for episode 14? I'll wait.
You've seen him before.
I'll wait.
Third from the Sun.
Third from the Sun, in which we find ourselves following a family of people appearing as though they are prepping for nuclear war.
Ooh.
Should be interesting, and by that I mean it's a really good episode.
So catch it on Tuesday.
I'm looking forward to it.
Please rate us on iTunes.
Say a rating or a comment or a subscription on iTunes. Any one of the three or combination of the three would be extremely helpful to us.
Mm-hmm. And listen on Spotify too.
Yeah, we are on Spotify. We're actually, I think at this rate right now, we're just on Spotify, iTunes, and Anchor.
Mm-hmm.
We're working to get across to some of the other platforms, but we got on what I would consider major ones.
Yeah.
First. And that's kind of where we're starting. You can get us you can get to us, Jesus, I can't talk. You can get a hold of us on Twitter at WWUcast for either or both of us, depending on who's got the account at the moment. You can find me at Konrdare. It's KONRDARE.
And I am at its_Bethany.
No apostrophe.
Yeah.
We also have a
Facebook page.
Yeah, community Facebook page. Feel free to go there and talk amongst yourselves or to us.
I will respond. It's the same title as the podcast, Wonder With Us. You can find it.
Yeah, it's fairly easy to find.
And I will post updates and such on there as well.
Yeah, what she said. We will both be responding to anything that comes in. I mean, it is who it is. It is who it is.
It is what it is.
I'm going to bed.
Thanks for wandering with us.
We'll see you next time.